Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines every Monday to Thursday in Israel. And today is a very, very solemn day in Israel. Probably the most solemn and intense day of the year. It is Yom Hazikaron, Memorial Day, where we remember our fallen soldiers, members of the security forces, police, and victims of terror who have fallen throughout Israel's history. In fact, we mark it from about 1860 onwards. This year, we bow our heads for 24,068 fallen soldiers, security personnel, police officers, and 4,126 victims of terror. In the last year, we've added 33 victims of terror to that list that nobody wants to see increase, and 56 soldiers who have fallen while they have been on duty. Our thought and our prayers are with all the families, all the bereaved families. This is a day where the whole nation takes on the sorrow of those families, and our hug for all of them is maybe a little tighter today than it is every other day. But we honor and we remember and we vow never to take for granted this incredible home that we have, because they gave their lives so we could live ours. Yom Hazikaron started last night at 8 p.m. with a 1-minute siren that rang out across the country, and this was followed by a ceremony at the Kotel, the Wailing Wall. President Herzog spoke very movingly in his address to the nation, saying that they did not care if you were left-wing or right-wing, Jewish, not Jewish, secular or religious. They cared that they were part of Israel, and that arguments and divisions of any kind stop at a cemetery. Also speaking to the nation was the IDF Chief of Staff, General Aviv Kochavi, and in his also very moving address, he said that many did not return so that others could return. And he said that the burden of grief is with us all of the time. It never leaves, and stressed the job that members of our IDF and security forces are doing now to combat terrorism on land, sea, and in the air, and far out of the borders of Israel. And we salute them and thank them for their service. This morning at 11 a.m., another siren, this time a 2-minute siren, rang out across the state of Israel, and many gathered at cemeteries and ceremonies across the country. It is estimated that 1.5 million people gathered at cemeteries to observe various memorial ceremonies. At Har Herzl, or Mount Herzl, where the national ceremony goes on, our Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, addressing the audience, said that they yearn for unity. He said that unity is the foundation of our power, and that we must take that unity from beyond the battlefield into the living spaces. Israelis have continued to mourn and to reflect on the great sacrifice made by so many, for so many of us to live in freedom. Now, relations between Hamas and Russia seem to be warming up, and some of us who work in the media are speculating, this is very curious. We've had these very controversial statements from the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov over the past couple of days. No apology has been forthcoming. In fact, on yesterday's broadcast, we spoke about how he has doubled down on his statement. But now we have a delegation of Hamas officials. These are officials that don't reside in Gaza. It's funny that many of them live in the lap of luxury in places like Qatar. They're off to Moscow to meet with Russian officials there. And it has been confirmed that one of the heads of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, had a very rare phone call with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. And on the subject of Foreign Minister Lavrov, we now go to the United States, where 22 Jewish members of the Democratic Caucus have released a very, very strongly worded statement lambasting him for his comments that he made earlier this week. If you haven't followed his comments, I'm going to recap. When he was asked by an Italian television show how Russia justifies the accusation of denazifying Ukraine, he said, "It doesn't matter that Zelensky is Jewish. Hitler also had Jewish blood, and some of the worst anti-Semites are Jewish." I don't know if he was implying that President Zelensky himself is an anti-Semite, but what an appalling statement, and has been roundly condemned by Israeli officials who are still waiting for an apology, and various other heads of Jewish organizations and communities around the world. Now, in the statement, they lambasted him for his blatant anti-Semitism and said that this is an attempt to pull focus from the unprovoked, unlawful invasion of Ukraine, and that it is typical of Russia to reach for anti-Semitism and to blame Jews and use stereotypes as a way to detract or deflect from their war crimes. Very, very strong words indeed. Now, what is also odd is that instead of any kind of attempt to cool down the tension that is brewing between Moscow and Jerusalem, a spokesperson in the Russian Foreign Ministry, speaking on Sputnik Radio, said that Israeli mercenaries are fighting shoulder to shoulder in Ukraine with Azov mercenaries. Now, Azov are the neo-Nazi far right, and if any of you out there watching understand anything about Israel and Jews, it is highly unlikely that we'll be fighting alongside any neo-Nazis. But this is a particularly egregious comment made by a member of Russia's foreign ministry. But all that aside, we are fast heading towards 8 p.m. tonight, and that can only mean one thing. A torch will be lit. Prizes will be given out to worthy recipients who have done extraordinary work over the last year, and Israel will start to party like it's 1948. Yes, we will start to ring in Yom Haatzmaut, Israeli Independence Day. It is a day where we see the mood of the country turn almost instantaneously from deep sorrow and reflection to absolute celebration and gratitude. And even though Israel is over 5,000 years old, but 74 years young as a modern state, we have a lot to celebrate. So tune in tomorrow for tomorrow's edition of the Israel Brief, where we take a look at some of Israel's greatest achievements over the last 74 years. But I'm sure you will join me in a few hours from now in drinking L'chaim, to life. Mazal Tov, Israel, at 74. You are looking as great as ever. We can't wait to meet you again tomorrow, where we start to celebrate Yom Haatzmaut, Israel Independence Day. Until then, I'm Rolene Marks, and this is the Israel Brief. But please don't forget that you can check out our website at www.layoftheland.online, our Facebook community at Lotl's site. And if you haven't joined us, please like us, follow us, and hey, drop us a message for Yom Haatzmaut. Wish Israel Chag Sameach. We are on YouTube. Our channel is The Israel Brief. Please give us a like, share our content, and don't forget to hit that red subscribe button. And if you want to leave a good message for Israel on the occasion of her 74th Independence Day, please do so in the comments below. And you can also tweet at us at Lay of the Land 5. That's at Lay of the Land 5. So I am off a little later to celebrate. There is much to celebrate, and I will see you tomorrow for the Israel Brief. I'm Rolene Marks. Thank you for watching.